In today's video, I want to talk about myofascial release, or foam rolling, or doing any type of deep tissue massage. So, is it needed? Is it important? What is it really for? Who should do it? So, questions like that is what I want to answer today. Hopefully, I do. In a healthy and ideal system, muscles are able to glide without restriction, right? But what we do throughout the day, let's say for example, we're sitting down for a long period of time and we do that for X amount of years, then you start building up these adhesions. And when you start building up these adhesions, then you're going to have to work your way back into loosen up in an ideal position. So you start building this restriction, and then now that's when the foam rolls come into play, and now that's when any kind of myofascial release come into play. So they start loosening up and start realigning the connective tissues, right? So if you start building all this tension, you shorten them up, and then you create these things called knots, right? Which is pretty much these connective tissues knotted up into one. And it just kind of feels like this ball right in front of the shoulder. So let's say your shoulder's an issue, and we're doing this for a long period of time. Let's say we're here, and then we're on the computer doing this, and we're picking things up, and our shoulder is still very internally rotated. What we want to do is expand it more. But if you're doing that for a long period of time, it's very hard. Once you try to put yourself in that position, all it wants to do is just pull you back in because you've adapted to that position, right? So what we want to do with these foam rolling techniques and this myofascial release, or any kind of tool that you have, is loosen it up and realign the fascia. It's not really breaking it down, it's just realigning itself, and that way you have a smooth sliding surface once again. So that's pretty much the goal behind all these foam rolling techniques and all these myofascial release. So it's just to pretty much reposition yourself in a good position, and that way that you don't have so much restriction, that you don't have, that way you don't, you try to prevent yourself from an injury. So if you're constantly doing this over and over and over, you're building all this tension up, and then you're just going to create more adhesions. So our goal here with these foam rolling techniques and the myofascial release is just to not just to make change, but also just to put ourselves in a better position. Okay, now is it 100% mandatory to do? Maybe not, but again, it all depends on your lifestyle. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on the stressors that you have throughout the day, right? So I like to do it pre-workout, so during the warm-up, just to loosen up the muscles and improve my range of motions. And believe it or not, I actually do it in the middle of my sets. If I'm doing a PR day, if I'm lifting and I start building up this inflammation, I start building up stiffness. Yes, I know that it's not coming from the muscle directly, it's coming from my CNS, my central nervous system, but at the same time, when I apply these foam rolling techniques, it triggers it. So everything is working in the same time. My brain, my CNS, my fascia, everything is working at the same time. That's why it makes some good changes, some positive changes. So when you do that in between sets, I've noticed that my range of motion is improved, and when my range of motion is improved during a back squat, my lift feels so much better. Now, how long should you foam roll for, or how long does it take to actually make some changes in the fascia when you're massaging it? Now, that all depends on what your lifestyle is and where your activities are. Like, that just depends on how stressed that certain area is, the fascia. If it's been built up for all these years and you feel a really rough knot there, or a lot of restriction, it may take a lot of time, not just that, but the amount of pressure to make any type of change. Okay, but I wouldn't say that foam roll is a main fixer for the problem, because another thing you should be doing is actually changing your position, changing your posture. Work on positioning more than anything. If you're sitting at a desk, position your shoulders right. Because when you're standing up, position yourself in a good position. Don't round your shoulders forward, right? Just put yourself in a good position. That way you don't go back to those That way you don't go back to those restrictions. So it's not just about forming guys. Yes, it's important just to loosen up the tension, but in the same time, you got to fix your position. If you don't fix your position throughout the day, it's just going to keep coming back to you. Okay? But if you're walking around with no biomechanical errors whatsoever, meaning if you're walking around with good posture, shoulders back, hips in a good position, neck's in a good position, feet's in a good position, etc., then you might not even create as much adhesions as most people do. But in reality, the common population of people actually walk around, they work, and they put a lot of stressors while they put themselves in these positions. So I think any kind of release would be beneficial for them no matter what, or for all of us, I mean. So yes, I do think that the importance is pretty high when it comes to any of these myofascial releases. And plus, there's a bunch of tools out there that you can use. They have a gun, they have foam rollers with spikes, they have a ball with spikes, they have the Grasson technique, the IASTM. You can do a lot of things now to actually release some of the tension that you've built, okay? But as long as there's compression in the area of tension, and you're applying some range of motion on that area, please, like, that's gonna be so beneficial to you in the long run. And always remember, if it's painful, you're doing it right, sadly, because you're making changes. So it's not a friendly feeling for the connective tissues, right? So it's pretty much like our armor inside, and it's kind of hard to go through armor. So it's going to be pretty hard to make changes in the in our fascia. So please put a good amount of pressure, apply some range of motion through it, and make some changes and live a healthier lifestyle. Our goal here is to try to create a healthy sliding surface. The more adhesions you create, the stiffer you get, the more hard it becomes. So your muscles won't be able to glide as smooth. Applying these techniques are not going to fix your problem in the long run. Fixing the problem itself is actually you applying that change, okay? You fixing your posture throughout the day, you applying these counter stressors when it comes to the accessories, and just try to have it as a support system. So loosen up some of the tensions. If you want to improve your performance, I highly recommend it between sets when it comes to lifting. But yes, just try to improve your range of motions throughout the day, and put yourself in a better position, because in the long run, that's what's going to count most. Okay? All right, guys. Adios.